I never thought an HOA could stalk my teenage daughter, until I found a photo of her taken from inside a black SUV. A week later, that same SUV was trapped on a collapsing bridge, the bridge my grandfather and I had been waiting on for them to cross. It started small, just a black vehicle in the mirror following me and Olivia home from her softball practice. Matte paint-tinted windows. No plates, only a little silver HOA crest near the bottom of the door. At first I thought they were doing rounds. Sycamore Hills HOA was infamous for neighborhood patrols. But something about the way they trailed us, always 2 car lengths behind, never passing it, set off instincts I hadn't felt since my Army days. When we pulled into our driveway, the SUV slowed, rolled past, then parked 4 houses down. Olivia asked if it was legal. I told her technically yes, but even as I said it, I knew it wasn't right. That night, I saw the same man in my security footage buzz-cut sunglasses, even after dark, walking past my mailbox, snapping photos. The next morning, an orange violation notice flapped on our door. Unauthorized basketball hoop remove within 24 hours. We hadn't owned a basketball hoop in 4 years. By the end of that week, I had 3 more letters: noise violation, non-compliant paint color, trash bin placement, every one of them nonsense. I emailed the HOA, no response. I went to their office, a little strip mall space between a tanning salon and a vape shop. The receptionist smiled like I was crazy. "Our patrols are there for your safety," she said. "Even when they film kids walking home from school?" I asked. Her smile didn't move. That night my phone buzzed. Grandpa Earl, 90 years old, Wetutu vet, still sharper than any man half his age. "You're being hunted," he said flatly. "Trust your gut." I laughed it off, but when I hung up I realized my hand was resting on my gun safe. A few days later, I caught the SUV idling outside Olivia's school, then again outside church, then the grocery store. Same dent on the bumper, same mud streak, same man. I started logging everything: photos times routes. A spreadsheet like I was back writing field reports in a combat zone. Then came the envelope. No return address, no stamp. Inside, a photo of Olivia walking home from school, taken through a windshield low angle, grainy but clear. My blood went cold. I brought it straight to the police. The officer looked young enough to still live with her parents. She flipped the photo over and said, "They're private security. Unless there's a physical threat, it's technically internal." Internal. That word stuck. The HOA owned the roads here. The city couldn't do a damn thing unless someone got hurt. I tried to act normal. Changed pickup spots, varied my routes, told Olivia to keep her head down, but it only got worse. One night, I saw the SUV's driver step out across my neighbor's yard and point something, maybe a phone, maybe a scanner, at my shed. Then he looked up and waved his finger at me side to side like scolding a child. That was the moment I knew this wasn't enforcement. It was intimidation. I texted Grandpa. He crossed the line. He replied, "Then it's time you show him where yours is." The next morning, I marched into the HOA office with a manila folder full of photos. The receptionist, Janine, looked up, that smug little smile glued on. I laid out 3 pictures: their SUV outside Olivia's school, the man in our hedge, the one pointing a camera through my fence. Her eyes twitched. "I'll call Mr. Langley," she stammered, their head of security oversight. 5 minutes later, she came back. "He's out of town." That night, I sat in the dark watching the SUV idle across from my house for hours. I couldn't sleep. I felt powerless, like everything I'd ever learned about discipline, chain of command, justice meant nothing here. Just me, my daughter, and a system that protected its own predators. For the first time in years, I thought about moving, selling, starting over. Maybe they'd won. Then my neighbor Carmen knocked. Pale as chalk. She showed me her footage, a man in a black jacket standing by her kid's playset. The HOA said it was just patrol, she whispered. That's when it clicked. This wasn't random. They were targeting anyone who questioned them. I started gathering more. Contacted city offices, the zoning board, even the Attorney General's hotline. Only one message came back anonymous. No sender. Be careful, they're covering something. That weekend, Grandpa showed up without calling. He looked at me calm, but hard. "They're not scared of paperwork," he said. "They're scared of exposure." He unrolled an old map on my table, the Dry Creek Bridge, an ancient wooden crossing the HOA used for shortcuts. "It's outside city jurisdiction," he said. "Still private land. One way in, one way out." "You're saying we trap them?" I asked. "I'm saying," he replied, "we show them the line they can't cross and let the world see who they really are." I should have stopped him. I didn't. Because for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than fear. I felt control. We set the stage, painted our gate the wrong color, parked an old truck with expired plates near the hydrant. The next morning, there it was, another bright orange citation. We knew they were watching. At midnight, we moved through the woods behind Dry Creek. Cold air, leaves crunching the faint smell of damp timber. We installed wildlife cameras, motion-triggered lights, even a steel cable across the road, not to hurt anyone, just to stop them from fleeing. We'd already filed an official erosion test permit for the bridge weeks earlier. Legal. Documented. Everything above board. The next afternoon, I got an email from the HOA meeting request, Friday, 3:30 p.m., conference room B. Langley wanted to discuss my non-compliance. Perfect. I showed up early. Langley was waiting 10 tall, the kind of smug you can't teach. "You've caused a lot of trouble," he said. I kept my voice even. "You've caused a lot of fear." His grin twitched. He leaned forward. "Maybe if you'd followed the rules, we wouldn't have had to watch you so closely." I hit record under the table. There it was, his admission. I thanked him for his time and left. The SUV tailed me all the way home. At sunset, Grandpa and I were already waiting near the bridge. The cameras were armed. Olivia was safe at a friend's house. I drove the rusty truck toward Dry Creek slow enough for them to follow. I could see their headlights bobbing in my mirror, 2 SUVs this time. As I crossed the bridge, I stopped halfway, killed the engine, and stepped out. Their first SUV rolled onto the planks. Then the second. Grandpa stepped out of the woods holding a small remote. He pressed it once. The floodlights exploded to life. Then came the sound, a deep, cracking roar, as the far side of the bridge gave way. Not an explosion, just failure, the supports snapping like toothpicks. Both SUVs dropped nose first into the ravine, tilted wheels spinning in the air. No one hurt, but trapped. I called 911 before they even climbed out. Reported a bridge collapse, sent the footage to every news outlet I'd already queued in my drafts. By the time emergency crews arrived, Langley was red-faced, barking into a dead radio. Cameras caught everything, the vehicles, the uniforms, the lies unraveling in real time. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. At 1:15 a.m., the motion sensors tripped 3 zones at once. I killed the lights and crouched by the window. 4 men in black circled the house. No logos this time. No IDs. They moved like professionals. Grandpa sat beside me, rifle resting across his knees, not to use, just to remind himself he wasn't helpless. When the first man slipped through the gate, the yard exploded with noise, old-school military sirens I'd wired to hidden speakers. The floodlights lit up like a stadium. A recorded voice boomed. "You are being recorded on multiple devices. Law enforcement has been notified." The man froze, then bolted. All 4 scattered like roaches. I handed the police a flash drive. That night video documents, logs, everything. They opened a criminal investigation the next morning. By noon, the footage of the bridge was on every local station. Homeowner traps rogue HOA patrol. Private security overreach. Langley tried to hold a press conference. He sweated through his collar, stammered about community safety until a reporter asked why his company's security license had expired 2 months prior. He didn't answer. The county suspended Sycamore Hills HOA charter that same day. Every violation they'd issued in the last year under review. Every family they'd harassed, now witnesses. Langley was arrested a week later. Impersonating an officer, unlawful surveillance of a minor fraud. When they led him away, he looked smaller than I remembered, like the bridge had taken something out of him besides his job. I didn't stay for the news vans or the interviews. I sat on my porch, watching the sun crawl over the street, the neighborhood finally quiet. Grandpa leaned his old rifle against the railing, poured 2 coffees and said, They came to hunt, didn't they? I nodded. He smiled faintly, but we showed him the woods. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it creaks, collapses, and buries the people who thought they could stand above everyone else.